What's going on, boys? Thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff, arm yourselves, life stuff. I am presently in a state. Sometimes I will scream while I'm driving. Not often, but sometimes, because where else can a person scream? And I think I hurt my throat doing it. So, what are we talking about today, and why am I in a state? There's a lot to talk about today, and while they're all under the same umbrella, these link up even less than they normally do. So, we'll focus on getting it all in rather than getting it all perfect. What if there are no gods or Lovecraftian entities? Sometimes you don't change tracks, but you get flashes of other tracks. What if people really are all that is in the consciousness game? Except there are paranormal events, but these are all caused by humans. In the sense, humans do have more potential, but we have a lot more potential than we're allowed to know about. What if it really is humans all the way up and all the way down? What if you aren't seeing ghosts or communing with higher powers, but instead are seeing and communing with federal agents? I don't think that's what's happening, but I had a flash of the possibility of this, and it was odd. Then we come to some kind of psychic awakening or psychic unraveling. I already don't sleep very well, but for the last week or so, it feels like something is trying to prevent me from sleeping. And I'm wondering if this is happening because for some reason I need to be exhausted to do or to see whatever needs to be seen or done. Last night I had the same sensations as I had during that weird visitation thing, but milder and without feeling like something was present exactly, but the same effect on consciousness. Can't really think about anything or enter that thinking cloud. Senses feel acute but attuned to a different frequency, and eyes are standing out again. Not necessarily the way they were before, as in something is looking at you through them, but rather more like someone went into Photoshop and put on an eye contrast filter. So wherever you see eyes, everything else is dimmed or fuzzy, and the eyes are 4K. And desperately, I tried to get some kind of a nap in earlier, and that shit started happening again. Except this time, there was a feeling or a sense of a mild presence. Not in the same way or to the same intensity, it's mild. But again, something is trying to prevent you from sleeping. So, needing to think about it, I'm thinking maybe this is some kind of exposure therapy or initiation. You want spiritual awareness and ability. If you want these things, you can't be afraid of them the moment you are actually exposed to them. The answer is not to drive these sensations away, because that's like needing to learn math, and then the moment your teacher shows you an equation, you pull a gun and start screaming. I'm wondering if the answer is just to get used to these things. Because as odd as some of the odder sensations are, they aren't hurting you. In fact, the most intense one a week or so ago, that was a good thing. That was a warning. That was a help. If you want that help, then you need to get over your fear of it. And earlier, that is kind of what happened. I decided, fuck it. If something bad is going to happen, then let it happen. And then nothing bad happened, and then the terror resided, senses returned to normal, and I got my 30-minute nap. And that got me thinking about other stuff. Or actually, I was thinking about this stuff last night. I'm beginning to wonder if we're going to feel really stupid in hindsight. When you are prodded out of your usual way of looking at things start looking different. Some things start feeling obvious. Consciousness in humanoids has been growing for the last 400,000 years, explosion 400,000 years ago, and we still don't know for sure what happens when we die. It feels obvious to me that there are levels of consciousness, whether or not that's spiritual or religious, I'm not sure, but it feels like it is. It seems unquestionable that there are, well, it's not a feeling. There are levels of consciousness. We just assume we're the highest level. It seems clear to me, based on the as above so below shit, that there are higher levels, but we can't access them with our limitations. But we've been fixating on this death shit for as long as we have been able to fixate on things, and we don't know. That's odd to me. And then the one that we were already thinking about, dreams, we have, or we should have, the science to figure out for sure what dreams are, what they do, crack the dream language so we can understand ourselves and make use of this function without all this. I love spiritual shit, but this feels like something that we shouldn't need to use spiritual shit for. We have the technology, but we don't. That's odd to me. Maybe we do have the technology. Maybe it is, as we mentioned in the beginning, humans all the way up and all the way down, but we aren't permitted to know. We are want to be knowers, not knowers. And the death thing in particular makes me wonder about transcendence. We have all these spiritual systems designed to help you transcend, but we don't have one wizard who can throw a fireball. And I'm not saying transcendence doesn't exist. I suspect it does, but what does it mean that transcending doesn't operate the way we imagine it operating? What happens when someone achieves the next level? Do they die immediately? Do they achieve Chim and gain powers? I don't see anybody levitating, but it seems like powers are on the table. So if powers on this plane are an option, then why the restriction? Why must your powers manifest subtly? Or must they? Maybe there are federal wizards who can cast fireballs. Glow in the dark succubi and incubi who get their rocks off by fucking with you. Literally. But if there are people who do have powers like these, then why do they hide themselves? And I'm thinking about all these things because I'm trying to locate myself in whatever is going on here. We've talked before about, I don't know if there's an official term for it, but the difference between someone who works magic and someone who cultivates spirit. And occasionally in life, you run across people you can tell work magic. And people who cultivate spirit too, but their energies are completely different. To me, magic workers feel like people you need to take precautions around but they're really stupid. They have no idea how to be. And then you meet spirit cultivator people who are not exactly opposite, but they're different. Those feel like the people, or they feel like the people you want to learn from because they have figured out how to be. I want answers, I want to understand what's going on, but I feel like I'm on the latter path, and maybe not even close, definitely not even close to an apotheosis or something. And for some reason, I have the sneaking suspicion ascending is not in the cards for me. And if that's the case, then what is all of this shit? What is this keeping me awake and desensitizing me shit? I feel like I'm back in the third grade. The kid you shove around knowing he's not going to do anything. I'm really tired of powerlessness. As much as I believe in the ability to take better advantage of opportunities than other people can, I don't believe anyone makes their own opportunities. I believe occasionally they are handed opportunities, and then what comes next depends on that person's makeup and capabilities. But how do you get these opportunities? Again, I don't think you make them. I think they're given to you. But is there a way for you to request opportunities? Put in an application for them. The Lighthouse. That Hark Triton scene in which Defoe casts a devious curse on Winslow. He opens that curse by asking to be listened to. Prayer is important. We know this. But is it actually important? As in, matches make pipe tobacco taste better, but you don't really care until you are or until you experience the difference, and then you go, shit, I knew that, but now I know it. And that point ties in with all this stuff. At what point do we know things? I think there are a number of things we know, but I don't know when we'll know or what we need to do to know. But back to the prayer, is it more than doing psychic shit or spiritual shit? More than making yourself available for it? Do you need to ask for it? Do you need to ask and then do something, or ask and then provide something? Does it matter how you ask? Defoe didn't even really ask as much as he said, hey Triton, listen, and then disco posted on Winslow. It feels so clear to me, logically and sensationally, that more is going on, but why don't things work? I watched a short on YouTube. That's weird to specify on YouTube because this video is going straight to YouTube. About ants getting trapped in some bunker from different colonies and then forming their own emergency colony in which all these ants from different tribes work together to consume their own dead so they don't starve to death, send out search parties to try to find ways out of the bunker, and cooperate to kill mice together. A mouse is a being higher than ants by degrees, but they still killed it. Why can't we kill mice? Or is this also a situation, in hindsight, we'll realize things were totally obvious, completely and utterly obvious? How are you even asking this question obvious? I don't know what to make of this fear and sleeplessness shit. This feels like a light challenge that needs to be overcome, but to what end? It never feels like you're doing anything. Even in these more personal moments, it feels more like events in an MMO. You can be there and experience it, and there will be consequences for the game world, for the player population, but it doesn't really matter if you are involved. I am so tired of people being able to do whatever they want to me. Every human is a little tyrant, but consequences only apply to you. You go back to your days in school. Someone can fuck with you for years, but then the moment you lay your hands on them, even if it's in response to their laying their hands on you, you're the one in trouble. You're the one who needs to be dealt with. And do you ever get the feeling more people know you than you realize, and better than you realize, and they're fucking with you? I'm aware that's not the case, but it feels like it. Is that a consequence of noospheric shit? As in, obviously, people are not gang stalking you, but maybe when your feelings and interests are intense enough, they bleed out onto other people. We often, well, not often, we used often to talk about the way it feels like most people are like a canvas over which or through which higher powers paint. Maybe that's what's going on. I suppose the main point of all this, for me, is why do you make so much either so obvious in some situations or so suspicious in others, and then act subtly and directly, and then for all of it to mean nothing ultimately? What's the game? Let's say I do overcome whatever this trial is, the fear trial, the sensation trial that we opened this video with. Okay, I haven't slept for however long this takes, but coming out of it, I am no longer afraid of quote supernatural phenomena, because again, maybe all of this is wishful thinking, maybe it's all in your head. Now what? Is the ultimate outcome that things that may not be real don't freak you out anymore? Flesh Simulator is a channel I'm interested in. His channel, or this channel, was made on October 3rd, 2023. And if I'm remembering correctly, late September 2023 was when some big shit was supposed to happen, and it didn't. And then this channel pops up, and it becomes one that talks about things that hindsight 2020 shit, like we were talking about earlier. Stuff that, how is nobody talking about this? Or how do people not recognize the implications of these things? Like the one that freaked me out last night. iPhones scanning your face in IR every 5 seconds. How am I hearing about something that obviously suspicious from the Weird Guy channel that showed up at a weird time? And worse than the government is monitoring your micro expressions every 5 seconds problem, what if they're sending you messages using light, IR light, somehow? And it's not like light can't trigger reactions in your brain. That's what epilepsy is. Lights flashed to susceptible people give them seizures. And On the psychic level, clearly they're more advanced than they let on. All of this, and I'm sure, they make up these stories about their interest in the occult and the psychical, so you aren't aware of what they're actually interested in the occult and the psychical and the ways they operate. You, a strange stranger, have made me aware of this in a way that I feel, now that I'm aware of it, I feel like I should have known about before but didn't somehow or for some reason. But now that I am aware, even if I do what very little I can, it's not going to make any difference. So, and I'm not a person who says, if I can't make a difference, then I don't want to know, because I do want to know. But if it's something that I should be aware of, then where is the answer to this? This stuff like this, either on the literal level, as in the government is scanning your face with IR invisible light every 5 seconds, and you're being visited by things that don't want you to sleep and are trying to train you not to fear the supernatural. Okay, now what? Are you going to let me in on the much larger statement, because this is just the smallest introduction to what's presumably a much larger statement? Or are there answers to this statement? Are there counter statements? You're that thing in the trash compactor in Star Wars that brushes against Luke's leg, if I'm remembering. He was one of the ones in the trash compactor, right? I haven't watched anything Star Wars in a very long time. I'm tired of powerlessness. Well, I was going to close out the video by suggesting we pray, and while the intensity was there, the rant was not adequately disco, and it ended up sounding racist against the Vietnamese. So we'll settle for a smaller, less aggressive prayer. Venus, Soa, lightless star of the shadows and hidden corners, listen to us, please. For them and their children, terror, disfigurement, and disability. For us, awareness, understanding, and prosperity. Something I heard in one of the War Dogs interviews, the Ephraim guy, is he's said to have said, negotiation is a contest to see who has more reasons or better reasons things should go their way. We want the same things, so if you have the doofer above, please pass it below. We both want bad on them and good on us. You have the signals. We are the transceivers. Let's make this happen, please. Please give us the better assignments and the information and understanding that go with them. I am begging you, we are ready for them. And actually, to hedge our bets in case that flash of the other reality was actually this reality, everything we just said, same thing, except for, toward, or with whatever agency conducts not psychological operations, but psychic operations. Get us in there. We're ready. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.